the Start Your Own Business podcast.
Hi there, I'm joined today by Darren Fell. Darren is founder and CEO of Crunch Accounting. If you're a regular listener of the Start Your Own Business podcast, you might have heard my episode with Darren where we talked about cash flow and budgeting. So Darren's come back to join us today to share his cash flow forecast template so that you can use it in your business to stay on top of your finances. You might find it helpful at this point to press pause and download the template so that you can follow along, but Darren is sharing his template with us so you can see what he's talking about as we go. Hi there, Darren, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hi there, Fiona. No problem at all. I thought after the last podcast, it really needed the visual to go through it.
Yeah.
This is like a perfect, simple example to really help guide them. And I think that this would be really useful for people wanting to set out their whole business forecast and see exactly where they're at.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things in business where a lot of people have the kind of fear of getting it wrong. I think there are plenty of people out there who would say, oh, maths is not my strong point. So if there's anything that can help people stay on top of their numbers, that's really helpful.
No problem at all. But I think I can safely make a big admission that I'm not that good with numbers, really. I think, over 15 years of working on crunch.co.uk, I've got a lot better, but that's why I set Crunch up. I'm not an accountant, I'm an entrepreneur. But yeah. This, which I'm going to guide everybody through, is the lifeblood of the business. And this is exactly how I start every business off. And I do it. And once the business gets big enough, then you hand it over to your bookkeeper or your finance person, or now we have a finance team and they do it all for you and manage it. But this is probably the most important thing in kicking a business off and making sure the business survives, particularly now. In this particular time, the economy is all over the place.
Yeah, lots of people out there wobbling at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. In our industry alone, we've seen a number of our competitors just disappear or get sold for £1. It's a very, very interesting time out there. Some people are doing well. Others aren't. Small businesses, all of us, are suffering. It's a very, very weird time. So that's why this becomes even more important, because if you don't track this, you can run the business. One day it's fine, and you've forgotten about a few things. The next day you're dead, and that's what we're going to protect.
Yeah, it only takes one person to pay you late, and suddenly, the numbers can start to look quite tight.
Yeah, no, exactly, and this all makes it super clear. So yeah, anybody watching, don't worry about not being good with numbers. We've built the simplest cash flow template here, which you can download. It's in Excel. I'd like to get the team to do it in Sheets if you use Google Sheets as well, so you can just have the online version. But most of your audience will be using Excel, and it's super simple. You don't need to be good at numbers. All you need to do is put the numbers in and keep tracking it.
Yeah. Fab. So we've got the template and people will be able to see it in front of us. Before we get into the template, I thought it might be useful to ask really what numbers people will need, or what figures and information they'll need to hand so that they can start filling this in before we get into it. Okay.
So what you need to understand, and I think these are all numbers that will probably be in your head, as a running your business, or even if you're a freelancer, you'll know all of these instinctively. And if you don't, just go and start looking at the bank statement so you can see what's coming in and coming out. So the first thing is what is the revenue coming in? What are your sales? What are your what's your other revenue? Have you got, like, say, an online Shopify site where you've got stuff coming in, or could it be coming in from Etsy or eBay? There's another revenue area there. Or the sales could be the invoices for your time. You're a developer, you're a illustrator, and these are all of your invoices going out for the time you're a service-based business. But this will work for both. This will work for a product-based business as well as a service-based business. So there's your revenue and your other revenue, or rather your sales and your other revenue up there in the receipts, the very, very top section. Now, what we've done as well, which is also, I think, useful, and this is how a professional cash flow would be working as well. You'd have what you forecast, your expected, and then you can start putting in your actuals in there,
Yeah.
so you really see where you're at. But we're just going to go in a forecast for today, just to keep it simple, just keep it
Yeah.
in the expected, and you can see how the whole year maps out. And it's strange because I'm not a numbers person, but there is a reassurance, and this is the whole purpose of doing this video with you, to really help people, that you feel so much more reassured, rather than literally the feeling is flying by the seat of your pants and not knowing what is actually going on. And that's that stress level in the back of your head, almost like the stress ticking away at the back, that your self-assessments are coming up, and have you collated everything? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So there's the top one, receipts. I'll go into it, and I'm looking down because I'm having to view the whole window rather than talk straight into the camera. So apologies for that. But here's your cash payments going out. Any and we've written them generally. You can change all these names to really suit your business very easily. So any drawings you might need to pay people in, maybe even in cash. General expenses, it could be subsistence payments. Like you're on client sites, you're programming, or you're doing SEO work, or whatever it might be. Any tax payments going out, any marketing that you're doing, and as I say, you put your stuff here. These are just guides and prompts to help you, think of maybe other things that we may have not listed here. But marketing, any materials and stock you might need, overheads, and this is your, what are you? Renting an office? Are you renting a desk? I've put down like a simple desk rental here of £210. So I've populated a few things just to show people. Repayment of loans. It could be a student loan being repaid. Staff wages. I put it in here as just me. This is a single person business at the moment. But this is gross, including the national insurance, the total payments going out. And as you start employing people, you can start adding the total figure in there. But you could put you there, and you could have the team under it. So you can start dividing out however you want, and then any other payments. So everything's all got nice little notes to it, and there's your total outgoings here. So let me just come back, kind of diving straight in, if that's okay, Fiona. We might as well dive in. But all of the outgoings, all your expenses, and all of the income, the inflow of money. And then you have your net cash flow there. There's not much left over there. And what I've done here, just to show people, is you put your opening bank balance in here. Now, if you were putting, say, £10,000, this is everything will roll across the entire year here. So
the sums are all built in there for you. You don't need your calculator to hand. You don't need pen and paper. It will do it for you, which is brilliant.
Exactly. And coming back to here, so that now you're getting that everybody's watching this is understanding the items you need. And when I start off a business, I start putting this down, and you don't have to worry. Do you have all the statements there and being utterly prepared? Put everything down that's coming to your head, and it will be, you'll be walking home and you go, I've remembered there's another payment. I've got this. And this, what you want this to be is your live document, your reassurance, and keep putting stuff in there. Keep going back and adding to it. I mean, as I said in the first podcast, I used to get quite religious about this, because I wanted to make sure we didn't run aground. I was even putting postage stamps in here, some relatively small costs, but I wanted to see we had enough money to keep going. So what you can do is you can start wherever you're at. So we might want to start here from May, and everything will neatly roll out across the year. And this could be your financial year. You might be running a tax year from April to March, or you may just want to see the forecast, from exactly where we are starting today. And then you have your totals here, and all at the bottom is your final cash position that should be in your bank account, and that's where you can
Yep.
double check and reconcile that. So that
Yep.
10,410 will go up to the next month there. You can see that start
Yep.
rolling across. So that I'm making. Hopefully, everybody's going right. Okay, I can see this. This is really, really simple.
Yep.
But we can go through, and you can start seeing it change. What I'll do is I'll suggest in this one that I've started off, and I'm putting a little bit more. Every penny I've saved from working hard in my full-time job, and I'm going to put my 32,000 in there, and that
Yep.
means I've got something to just enough to get the business going, especially as there's limited sales coming in.
Yeah.
So should I dive into the next pieces and start rolling it out?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so what we could say. So let's assume it's literally just starting out. I'm planning only to get very small amounts of money in initially. I know I've got to live on this money, 4,300 there, or you can work it after the taxes. That's the other thing you got to make sure. But we're putting in what the business sees here. So what do I need to live in, and then you're adding on the taxes there. So I'm gonna.
So you can presumably plug that in each month.
Yep. You can.
Yep.
You can. So let me start the receipt. I'll put some receipts in there as I started to do. So I'll say initially getting going, we're just going to have, say, 3 months of 5,000. And I'm expecting a few more orders to start coming in. I'm doing a bit more marketing. I'm sort of pitching. I'm being really conservative here, 7,500, and I think you should be really conservative depending on what the business is. If you're invoicing for your time, you'll kind of have a gauge to what clients you're going to get, how much you're billing. Is your day rate 350 or whatever, and work out what you can actually get in. But hopefully things start lifting up. I put in expected, say, in October. I think by that point I should start, getting, 15K in, and I'll widen that window out there so we can see it. Expected November. I'm really hoping that I'm going to, but always go super conservative on this.
Yeah. Because you can always go back and amend those later, as you said.
Absolutely.
Update them once you've got your actuals. And I think most of us have seen things where we might have been paying, say, £200 a month for our utilities, and with the price hike that we've had, suddenly that's gone up by 50%. So the bill comes in for the quarter and it's like, crikey. So you go back and update those, and you get real-time figures then. So you're eliminating the guesswork.
Exactly. So I'm going to go 23. You might, and let's just widen out those. Now, the other thing you can, I think doing this is really, really like therapeutic and useful for you, because you're really religiously going through this. Now, of course, a good accounting system should have all of this, and you're connecting to the bank using an open banking feed, so it should all roll in there. But it's arguably less like hands-on, and maybe you could fall into the trap of not thinking about it as well. But this, certainly when you're starting off a business, to do it manually is really, really thinking about the business in terms of the receipts coming in, and really all the expenses, and really working it through. So I put in, say, 24 in here, and widen that one out. And I think we would have had a whole 12 months rolled out there, and finish on the April expected 24,000. And then widen that one out.
So as you're doing that, everyone can see that the numbers are updating live. So that just shows how easy it is to use the template. It's doing the numbers for you.
Exactly.
You're just entering your figures, your baseline figures.
And I think the other thing, as you start doing it, you can then go and put the actuals back in, and you've got another actuals total, and then you start learning. And Businesses are, lovely things. They're like this is a living document. They're designed to be a living
Yeah,
document, but the businesses are, in a strange way, they're living as well. And you'll start seeing seasonality depending on what you're doing.
absolutely.
You'll see, the tax payments. If you're VAT registered, you'll see when the VAT is going out. So you've got to make sure you've
Yeah,
got that amount of money, and that brilliant quarter is going to mean a bigger VAT bill.
yeah,
If you're VAT registered, so you start seeing all this seasonality, and having it done in a manual way is just, as I say, this becomes a beautiful thing. And no matter what you've told yourself before, I'm not very good with numbers, I'm not very good with numbers. You get into the numbers, and it
yeah,
becomes
yeah,
like a mini addiction. And if it's not, make it so, make it a habit.
yeah.
I'm going to start copying across these things. I'll make sure my expenses are really, really low in those months where you're just building up. I know I need to do a little bit more marketing here, but I'm not going to put much money in there. 250. I will stay on um, my rented desk. I'm not up for taking an office yet. That's a
Yeah,
massive
yeah.
expense, and you really, really carefully work through this. Can't pay yourself 43,000.
No, it would be
No,
nice.
no. Otherwise, you've just decimated the capital you've just put in. And it's as simple as that. Like rolling through, and then as you start getting over to here, we want to start going right. I'm gonna take us like a stand at an exhibition, and I need to do. Put in July there, but I need to get the brand out there, and I believe I can let's put that over there rather. I believe I can start really getting the brand out there. Let's put that back to 0. So yeah, it enables you to plan out the year based on the
Yeah,
receipts, and again, try not to spend too much. If you want to kick things off with a real bang, then you're probably going to start, sort of spending more than your receipts. Probably not advisable, but depends what you need to do to get the brand going, because you've got a bit of capital still here and it's still growing. So, but yeah, it's rolling the whole thing out, typing it in, like get the next coffee, sit down, look at it again, have a break, make some calls.
yeah,
Make sure you're still doing all the sales stuff, and then come back to it again with another coffee, and like, oh right, I thought of that. I want to do this in here. I want to do
yeah,
more marketing in there. I think this, at this point here, I'm going to need to get. Hopefully that hasn't come on the screen. Something's appeared from the right hand side of my screen. Then, hopefully it didn't appear on the recording. So I'm going to 4-3. I'm going to put some extra staff in there, and I'm just going to double it. So 4-6. Sorry, 8-6. And you start looking at your cash position there.
yeah,
But yeah, you hopefully everybody is starting to see you start populating this across, and yeah, it's real guesswork, in 12 months time. That's fine,
yeah,
but definitely for the quarter, for the first three
yeah,
months, you've got to have a really good handle on this,
yeah,
because you can correct big issues. Now, of course, if some disasters happen, so say for example you're an Amazon seller, and the terrible thing happens, and they decide that you've broken some rule, and they're going to discontinue promoting your product lines out there. So you can start playing with risk scenarios, and this does happen
yeah,
regularly. A good Amazon seller will have multiple product lines selling, but you still hear those stories of going like something
yeah,
happened, someone made a complaint, something, and they just take it offline, and suddenly you've lost,
yeah,
2.5 grand a month, and you've got all this stock sitting there, and you've got to desperately try and sort it out. So you can then
yeah,
play with risk scenarios and go,
yeah,
I'm going to have zero receipts, in July, and see what
Yeah.
happens to your cash position there.
Yeah.
And all of these turn what you may be inside going, I'm not a businessman, I'm not a businesswoman. It starts making you, and this really is the crux of running a business,
Yeah.
and planning, and playing with scenarios, and you, by the end of it, and keep living with this living document, because the business is living. You are a business person then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does it. So yeah, strangely, in a weird way, the habit becomes enjoyable, and you know exactly where you are. And then you've got this other thing you've never really had before. Holy moly, I've got a 200K business here. This
Yeah.
is super exciting. I never
Yeah.
thought I
Yeah.
never thought I could do this. I just
Yeah.
thought I might just enough, yeah, cover myself. But look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, aren't I good? And you're bigging yourself up quite rightly. But you've got to, yeah, you keep living this document and adding all these components in, and everything becomes very, very clear. The second you stop
Yeah.
doing it, that's when businesses run aground. And as a business builds up, you've obviously got a much bigger cost base, especially if you've got staff.
Yeah.
And if a couple of the revenue lines fall apart for whatever reason, you've got to be able to accommodate that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than building cash in the business and having a stockpile of say 3 months of expenses to protect
Yeah.
yourself if you play with some risk scenario and go, well, Whamsy Amazon just like bin
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
account. I've got to have some other channels operating here. I need to have a stockpile of cash, because you might have team members by that. They may be on PAYE, and especially with Labour's new rules coming in, you can't just can people. You've got to go through a whole process, and this takes time. So you've
Yeah.
got to have the money. So yeah, playing with the positives and seeing how amazing your turnover could be, and being realistic and being conservative, but also playing with the risks about what could happen here, what could
Yeah.
happen there, what happens if my supplier can't ship all the stuff, do I have a backup supplier? Really gets you,
Yeah.
really gets you thinking.
Yeah, and it helps you prepare as well, because the reality is no business journey is smooth. There will be ups and downs for everyone, as you mentioned earlier, that you will discover as you go along that perhaps you're more of a seasonal business, so you'll have peaks and troughs of when money's coming in and going out, because obviously if you're selling more, you're buying more in, you've got more costs associated with meeting those sales. So yeah, you can start to see that, and you can play with what ifs and make a plan so that you don't hopefully come up with a hole in the cash flow that leaves you unable to pay yourself or your staff.
No, exactly. I remember doing a presentation in Shoreditch. It was a big event, and agencies are very people heavy businesses, particularly in the Shoreditch area, and that was at that time, and they were very prone to working on massive big brands, it might be Levi's or whatever, and accounts could be taken very, very rapidly if campaigns
Yeah.
didn't work. And you'd see, and I think I might have mentioned that in the first podcast, you'd see the agencies go into like mad panic mode and have to get the entire crew together and go, we're so sorry, we can only pay you 50% of your salary on your payday, and we'll come up with the rest of the money in a week's time. And you can see how disastrous that is with talented people in your team, and that's why it's worth preparing. And when you get to the stage, having a really, really good, finance person running it who will do all of this for you, and you're then just asking for commentary from them, like, tell me all the bullet points, and you won't be going through this yourself. But certainly when you start, it's such a good exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. So very quickly, what are the key kind of financial lines that people sort of forget when they're doing this, those kind of hidden costs that you think you don't discover until later in the line, think, crikey, I forgot that. Are there any typical ones that people forget to include?
I well, I don't think they can, especially if they're VAT registered, they can't forget about VAT. But I would say a common thing to miss is the taxes you need to pay. So that's when it's worth talking to an accountant and understanding, what are the taxes I'm going to need to pay. It's very easy to, when you start off, to just look at literally I can sell that, and I can live on these low expenses. So I think the biggest, most obvious thing is overestimating on the sales, overestimating, on the delivery of that. So you should always really roll it out quite slowly, because if you overachieve on it and your actuals going in here like double or triple, this is amazing. But then you obviously need to service that. So it's that. I think it's just being over zealous, if that's I don't think it's the right word, overconfident about what you can do and how fast you can do it, and then not having enough expenses to support it, and then the real understanding. I've got to do this cost effectively. It's got to be lean, but at what point will I need help? And when will I need to put team members in there? Can I live on freelancers? Do I want to, outsource to virtual, assistants? We've got some, on our YouTube channel, Ben Leonard had created a $6 million Amazon business from his gym kit, and he only had, amazingly, a couple of virtual helpers and assistants in the Philippines. So it's just understanding what the cost. So sometimes you can be really lucky, other times you just need to start getting in people. So it's the answering your question is overestimating it and underestimating on the expense side. But just the process of going through this, as I was saying, is as I started to do it at the beginning of Crunch. You're walking home, you're walking to go and grab a coffee, and you're like, I've forgotten about that. I've forgotten about that. Completely forgot about that. So it's just get yourself in that headspace, and little calendar entry of right at the beginning of the morning. You start at 8:30. You got your first coffee of the day. Start here, and it just gets you trained on it, and then the oversight, as you was asking, it starts eliminating itself because you're in that mindset and you start going, there's that. Oh, I've remembered there's a new warehousing charge on this component, and I've got some returned items, and there's this, and you start adding into your cash payments over the other side, and really starting to get a handle, as opposed to not and then your forecast actually, strangely, over time becomes incredibly accurate. You're expecting your actuals are matching, and kind of that's a nice feel-good factor to it as well.
Absolutely. But I was going to ask you, back in the day, before kind of digital banking, you would get a monthly bank statement, and you would sit down and you'd reconcile your bank account to make sure that everything tied up that you'd entered in. With digital banking now, we've got that all the time. We've got that at the touch of a button. We can check where we're at financially. In terms of the spreadsheet, how frequently do you think we should be going back and updating the figures that are in there? Is it something that we can still do monthly, or do you think some businesses will need to do that more frequently?
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, what I'm suggesting, certainly in the early stages, and if you've grown big enough, then get a finance person on it or a bookkeeper on it that can do this. I'm suggesting daily, and as you think about it, going back into this forecast. So when I say it's a living document, it is literally part of your repertoire of what you do in the day with your email, and you're talking to suppliers or your customers. This is something that you keep going back to. I'm going to add this in. So you could be going back to it hourly. Now, Crunch, in our finance team, they are reconciling absolutely daily. They're looking at the cash flow all the time to make sure they know exactly the position, and they're reconciling back to the bank account. They're looking at that statement and checking back to it. So I absolutely recommend that, this becomes a daily habit,
little and often.
Exactly. Once you start it, because what you don't want to do is spend hours and hours and hours on it and then hate having to go back into it. You're like, just get first coffee, get it all out of your head. You will have missed loads of stuff. Then you keep going back into it. It becomes the document that's always open, or Excel's always sitting there. You go back in there, then you this strange sense of understanding and reassurance descends over you. I know what's going on in the business, and I know I can handle this issue, and I know I can handle that issue. Because the downside, if you don't do this sort of thing, I honestly tell you, it's absolutely horrible being in a cash flow hole. Especially if you've got to pay people. It's the worst sin of all not to pay your team. So you just it's your responsibility to do this and never get there, because sometimes the hole can be too big. You didn't foresee things coming, and the only thing you can do is to close the business down. And that's really you don't want that for anybody. I don't want that for anybody.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So just to reiterate, this is free to download. You can add your own rows in if you need to. You can start it wherever you want to in the financial year. So you might not be starting your business till July, but you might be able to start plugging in some of the things that you're expecting to pay out. So you can change the start date and update little and often to keep on top of your numbers. Is there anything else tip-wise that you can share, Darren?
Do you know what, Fiona? I think we've done it all. This is the starting point, and then when you're really comfortable about this, and I do think that this manual approach is really, really good, certainly at the beginning. And then once you're confident, then you can go automatic. Good accounting software will have your cash flow in there, and as I said, the banking feed will come in, and life becomes really, really simple. But still treat it as that living document and keep going back in there, because otherwise you will make the mistake. The people that go, I'm really confident about my business, and then stop doing it for a month, will come back and find a few shockers, and then they're back to like, oh my god, I'm super stressed, and this is what this is trying to avoid. So that would be the next tip, that crossover point of going automatic in your accounting system, connected to your bank, and you've got the other feeds coming in. Maybe if you're an e-commerce customer, you've got the other feeds coming into your e-commerce software. You can see all the everything's happening live. That's the next step, and then the final step is the beautiful step when you can hire someone just to look after all of your finances, and trust them. They're going to have to be good. Trust them to look after the business and give you loads of forewarning. No, sorry, Darren, you can't go and buy those 100,000 stock items you want. You're going to have to pay more per unit, but go for 10,000, because we reckon we've got a hole there. We've got a supplier gone down. We don't think we're going to get the money in on that one. And those are the lovely stages. And now, I've got a department. It's not very big, but it's 5 brilliant team members with an FT over the top, and they are incredibly important in the business, and they're looking out and they're checking and reconciling and doing this every single day and reconciling it back to the bank account, and that's a lovely position to be in.
Yeah. Fab. Well, I think that's fantastic. That's super, super helpful, and I'm going to start doing that. And actually, I might even start doing that for some of my own household bills, to be fair.
Well, I know.
It would work equally well.
Exactly. I think everything's so expensive, isn't it?
It really
and
is.
I've had to do it here with we've got two young boys. With Claire, my wife, and I've had to get very organised as well.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks this is probably in my nature. It's probably not in my nature, but I need to know what's going on. So I've got pockets in the bank account for football boots, for the food, for everything's developed, extra school activities, because sometimes they can be expensive. You're topping up each of the little pockets. So yeah, this training you can bring to yourself and your business can then flow through, and then you don't end up, you're not
that financial discipline.
Yeah, exactly. You're not always stuck in that horrible place like I used to be. It's permanently an overdraft, and that's another horrible place.
Playing catch up the whole time.
Exactly. And there's a pocket for like everything in there. So I think go for it, and let me know if you need any extra tips.
Yeah. Fab. Well, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Darren.
No
that's
problem at all, Fiona.
Treat.
Yeah, no,
Cheers.
Cheers to you, and hopefully that's really, really useful for everybody.